Dr S Tamizhmanii, Professor in Nautical Science at Ramat University. Today we are going to discuss briefly about the bulk deformation process in all automobile manufacturing companies. The bulk implies that some amount of material is converted into different product without wastages or without sacrificing the properties required for a particular product. There are two processes available in a metal forming or in a bulk deformation process. One is the hot process, another one is the cold process. Any material is heated up to 60 to 75% of the melting point of that metal is converted into different shapes. In the cold conditions, same metal can be converted into different products and at room temperature. This is called the cold working process or the cold bulk deformation process. Cold process and the hot process, 90 to 95% of the material is converted as a final product without sacrificing the properties required for the particular product. There are 3 or 4 processes available in general we are going to discuss. One is the rolling process, another one is the forging process, third one is the extrusion process, and fourth one is the bulk deformation process which is being used here. What is the rolling process? The best example of rolling process is what we do at home. We make chapati or parota. What we do, between two supporting, there is only one support here, keep the flour inside, there is a roller, try to roll it. So what will happen, the bulk material is spread into either maybe in the width or maybe length. This is a process at home, but this is not going to be constrained. Whereas if the same process is adopted in industries, there is going to be constraint on width of the component to be produced and length of the component to be produced. Either is going to be in a hot process or going to be cold forging process. The one more process used is called the wire drawing process used in many industries. Rolling process, there are different types of rolling process available. Where the process takes place is called the rolling mills. They call the two-way rolling mills. The two-way rolling means nothing but there is one roller at the bottom, another roller at the top. In between two, we have to insert the material so that the material will try to flow between these two. That is going to produce the thickness of the material. When the material is getting produced, there is going to be increase in width. There is going to be constraint on increasing the width, beyond which it cannot possibly increase, because when thickness is getting increased, there are chances of flaws or crack to develop. So there is a certain restrictions the rolling process takes place. This is a 2 high rolling mill. There are 3 high rolling mills. We have 3 rollers, one at the bottom, one at the center, another one at the top. So first process, the first cycle, from the 2 rollers, material is passed. That material is subsequently sent to the second roller. This is called the 3 high rolling mills. Then the 4 high rolling mills, 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. In between, we insert the material to be used. In this process, the 4 high rolling mill will have a more deformation that is possible to take place. Suppose you are going to use a 40 mm plate to be converted as a material. By applying this and using the 4 high rolling mills, you can reduce to 2 mm thickness, because the force can be applied and the compression can be given to more on this process. This is 4 high mills. Another one is called the tandem mills. Tandem mill is the insert the material from one side, subsequent process takes place at a different stages. This is pertaining to the rolling process. Another one is the forging process. The forging process, nothing but heat the material almost 70 to 80% of the melting point of the metal, hammer it. Normally what we see in the roadside, they make the knives, but it's all man-made. It's a product depends upon the operator's skill. Whereas in industries, there are 2 elements required. One is the bottom die, another one is the top die. Keep the material under hard conditions, apply a force, apply a load, but the load is going to be sudden. It is going to give you impact load. Bottom die is going to be a profile and has been compensated by the top profile. Both will give you same product and subsequently take up for process. This is the hot forging process. Same thing can happen for cold forging also. Metal is done or the compression is done under cold conditions. Hot forging process, the deformation is very fast, or more deformation is possible, whereas the cold forging deformation is not possible, but more force is required between the die and the punch. The hot forging process, what will happen is that the mechanical strength little bit lower compared to cold working process. Cold working process can able to give better mechanical strength in terms of tensile strength, compressive strength, fatigue, and then vibration. I can withstand vibration, things like that. Is more for the compressive, more for the cold forging process. This is as far as the forging is concerned. The third one is the extrusion process. You simply remind that when you go to your home, you want to brush your teeth. What do? Take a paste, open the mouth, open the cap, press it. Paste is coming out of the mouth. This is nothing but the one example for the extrusion process. The size that is required depends upon the opening or die in a material. So force is done from one side, material pass projecting out from the die opening or the mouth. So whatever profile configuration required depends upon the mouth or die of the process. See, same thing here also, you can have hot extrusion process followed by cold extrusion process. There are many rolling mills available which can produce a longer length of wires, which is used in many applications. This is about the extrusion process. Last one, the wire drawing process. In the wire drawing process, we make the bigger diameter to smaller diameter at different places. Material is pushed through the die. Die is having some sizes, then the wire is drawn on the other side of the die, then the wire is drawn. So it has to be, here also it's going to be like hot and cold working process. Most of the wire drawing process used in a certain application like constructions, it's all done with hot extrusion. Whereas some of the material used in industries, they go for cold extrusion, like wire used in electrical industries, or the aluminum rods, or the copper tubes. This is all done by cold extrusion process. There are many advantages using above the process and disadvantages, but it all depends upon what type of product you want to produce. Accordingly, bulk deformation process has to be done. There are many processes by which this is also possible to do it, but these are the 4 or 5 processes available in any industry that is going to cater to the requirement of all industries. Thank you very much.